Welcome back, YouTube. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys all about the two things that I wish that I knew when I first started training that would have saved me a lot of unnecessary joint pain and strain, confusion around my nutrition, and given me a lot more progress in and out of the gym. Let's go. Okay, so before I get stuck into these two tips, I'd love to hear from you. What are some of the things that you wish you knew when you first started training? Drop me a comment below to let me know. But without further ado, the first thing that I wish I knew when I first started lifting is that barbells are an incredibly convenient exercise tool, but they're usually not the best option. You see, if there is one thing that I wish I could do differently through my earlier years of training, it's relying so heavily on straight barbell movements. A couple of the coaches that I worked with at the time had a heavy emotional bias towards them. You see, they were either powerlifters or had a very old school, hardcore mentality around their training. And if I had had a little bit more knowledge and made better choices and substitutions for a lot of the barbell movements I was doing, I could have saved my elbows, my wrists, and my shoulders from a lot of unnecessary wear and strain and gotten even more out of my training at the time. Now, barbells aren't inherently a bad or dangerous tool to be using, but the simple question we have to ask is, if there is a better option that will provide just as much, if not more stimulation to the target muscles with less joint wear, then wouldn't you want to use that? I mean, if you're a powerlifter or an Olympic weightlifter, you can't really avoid the barbell, but for anybody else, including bodybuilders, the barbell is just another accessory that may or may not be an efficient choice. Now, I know what a lot of people are going to say, and it's that, but Eugene, barbells have been around forever. Arnold used barbells. Ronnie Coleman used barbells. Dorian Yates used barbells. And the fact is, if you're going to bring up an argument based upon an emotional reason, such as who used it in the past, or it works for me, instead of one based upon logical reasoning, you're kind of missing the point here. I get it though, because barbells have been around forever, and they're still a useful piece of equipment. I still use them a lot in my training, but I'm very particular about on what exercises, generally only using it if I was loading something like a deadlift, where my upper extremities aren't really involved in the motion, and nothing that really involved pressing or pulling or curling like most upper body work. You see, because while barbells are an incredibly convenient option that you'll find in most gyms, they're an incredibly inefficient tool from a joint perspective, because they force you to move in this fixed plane of motion, which isn't about being more or less functional, however you want to define that phrase, but it's more about the fact that you will expose your joints to a lot more shearing forces that could easily have been avoided by opting for a dumbbell, cable, or even a machine-based variation instead. Because anytime we can create more freedom at the wrists and elbows to articulate through the movement, the better, as it allows us to customize exercises to our individual biomechanics and structure. And I guarantee that if you switched all of your barbell exercises that have you moving in a fixed plane, such as curls, to one that allowed for more freedom, such as dumbbell curls instead of barbell curls, or cable presses instead of barbell presses, and unilateral pull downs instead of straight fixed bar pull downs, you'll start making a lot more progress with your training, and you'll train with a lot more comfort and effectiveness. Now, I do understand that for many people, they might only have a barbell available, depending on where they train. And in that case, out of all you have available, it's obviously going to be the best choice to use a barbell. Just keep in mind that, like anything else, it is not without its drawbacks. No matter how traditional and tried and tested it may seem, and that you should be taking into consideration all the negatives that it can have on the body, and to train in a way that avoids compounding these issues down the road as you get more and more advanced. So the number two thing that I wish that I knew when I first started lifting is that meal plans suck. Now, it's a pretty bold statement, but let me explain. You see, every bodybuilding coach that I had used to give me meal plans. Your meal plan would be eggs and oatmeal for meal 1. Meal 2 till 5 would be chicken, sweet potato, some broccoli, maybe some beef or salmon for meal 5 because of the extra fats. Now, I would follow it diligently, and each week as it came to check-in time, I'd wait in like his eager anticipation for the next adjustment to be sent through. I'd be like, oh my God, it's a whole extra 50 grams of sweet potato this week. Shit's about to get serious. What about like, oh my God, I'm getting asparagus, not broccoli, or white fish, it's like revolutionary. But man, there are so many different types of white fish. So like, which one is best? I better ask my coach just in case. And he says, oh, you gotta have sea bass, but I don't have sea bass in Australia. So I guess the diet's not gonna really work as well. Maybe I need a new diet plan. Just tell my coach, let me know what you want me to do, and in the meantime, I'm just gonna sit here and not really eat a thing until you tell me what to do. You see, the issue with meal plans is that they don't really teach you anything. They're used as a way to hide behind the smoke and mirrors of secrecy as if there's something so special about the specific foods or combinations that are detailed in the meal plan, instead of teaching the individual, i.e. yourself, how to take care of yourself. A simple way to think of this is compare it to spending money, saving money, and budgeting. So say I told you each week that you're allowed to buy these 5 things in these different quantities, and that's it. Each week, you're dependent on me telling you what you can and can't spend your money on. In the meantime, you have absolutely no concept on how much money you're making, saving, or losing. You just blindly follow and hope for the best. But what if instead of this, you had an understanding on how much money you currently earn, how much you have in the bank, and how much you need to spend each day? It'd be like, gee, I currently make $300 a week, and I have $10 in the bank. I guess I can't afford that $500 t-shirt for a couple of weeks till I've saved enough. And even then, I probably shouldn't be spending $500 on a t-shirt because it's a bloody t-shirt. And I should think about spending that $300 across things like food and rent instead. It's not a hard thing to get a handle on, and the exact same conversation can be had around nutrition. You have an allotment of calories and macros that you have to play with each day or each week, and how you go about spending them in terms of food is completely up to you. Going overboard in your food spend is similar to going overboard in spending with your finances. Like, sure, you might be able to get away with a couple of cheeky transactions here and there, but it's probably going to come back and bite you in the ass soon enough. Next question would be, where should I spend these calories and macros? Should I go with chicken or white fish or Ben & Jerry's ice cream? Well, the beauty of it is just like your actual budgeting and expenditure with money, it's completely up to you. And you'll learn pretty quickly how to make good financial or good macronutrient decisions. Because I'm sure we've all gone through the sting of an impulse buy where we've spent a lot of money on something and regretted it or invested our money poorly. I mean, yeah, it sucks to acknowledge it, but long term, hopefully you get smarter with your spending and savings and working with what you have to find what works best for you and what you can stick with. The same thing goes with your nutrition. If you give yourself the freedom to choose whatever you want, then you'll soon find what works and what doesn't work. You'll realize pretty quickly that with your current budget allowances, maybe you can't afford to have a lot of Ben & Jerry's, but you still can if you want. The only thing is, it's probably not going to add a lot to your overall performance and recovery apart from sheer calories, and it's probably going to leave you satisfied for all of about an hour before you find yourself hungry again. Only the issue is, now you've completely blown out your calories for the day, which is pretty similar to what happens when you spend $500 on a t-shirt, only to find that the joy that it brings you is very fleeting, and now you're left with not being able to afford rent or food for a week. It's not that really a hard concept to wrap your head around with respect to nutrition, but unfortunately we're so confused by the appeal of these custom diet plans and meal plans, thinking that it's the latest Hollywood secret protocol to getting results. And a lot of the industry is designed to leave you confused, because a confused customer is an impressionable customer who is easier to manipulate and take control over to line their back pockets with. But that's more of a story for another day. So what's the better alternative to meal plans? It's to take ownership of your health and nutrition and learn how to work with macronutrient and calorie goals. A good coach should give these to you and help guide you to make better decisions around fitting different foods and structure around your macronutrients, but they shouldn't be giving you blanket, rigid meal plans with no context whatsoever. It might sound like a bit more effort to start with, but as you actually have to start, like once you start thinking for yourself instead of following something blindly, it's actually not that hard a thing to get a handle on. And like anything, it will soon become effortless in time, and it will give you more power and freedom over your nutrition and physique long term. So there you go, guys, the top 2 things that I wish that I knew when I started training. What do you think? Do you have anything you'd want to add into those? I mean, in all honesty, there are so many other avenues I could have taken, as there are dozens of things that I wish I knew when I first started lifting, but these are probably the 2 that have impacted me the most long term, and I think can help you. Hopefully you learned something, and of course if you did, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.